Hi there. In this short video clip, we'll be discussing the Cybex leg curl machine, or better yet, knee flexors. We've done a previous video on this one. It is lengthier. It does give more detail, so refer back to that if you have questions. And if after viewing this video you have more questions, just come talk to me, please. Okay, we're going to get started with this. Very simple. We have adjustments here on the range limiting device. As I've discussed before, that's going to allow us to preset the specific angle that we're going to start working from the knee joint, that is. We also have the back seat adjustment. That's going to allow us to set our position, how far forward and back we'll be relative to the machine. Now, when we get in here, you'll also notice there's an adjustment for here. This is where your calf muscle, the lower limb, will actually be resting. So we want to try to set this as far back as possible. What that's going to do, it's going to bring the actual pad closer to the knee joint itself. It will create less posterior stress through the actual joint itself. It may feel a little awkward for some of you that have been always working this fully extended outwards, but give this a try. Once again, it may feel lighter as well. Increase the resistance then, okay? Being that it's a little closer in proximity to the joint, it does create less stress posteriorly speaking through the knee. So please understand that's the main reason for that. Now, I'm way too far forward on this seat. You can see that my knees are way ahead of this actual device here, which we call the axis. So when you take a look at this, you'll see that, like on the leg extension, the lateral aspect of the knee should be in line with this. So we're going to actually make our adjustment relative to that, but also relative to the placement of this pad. And in many cases, depending on our lever lengths, there may be some discrepancies. So I always want to say that this pad is going to be priority, making sure it's above the kneecap. Do not want to bring this down directly on the kneecap. It will create a downward effect on the actual bone structure here, not just the discomfort of the knee joint itself, but actually the downwards force into the tibia and some other parts structurally of the actual skeletal system. Don't force stuff, all right? So just remember above the knee. So I'm going to bring that down there. So I'm the perfect example. If I bring this up a little bit, for me, this feels a little more comfortable. I'm a little far forward. If I had a wedge of some sort, it would allow me to kind of pre-position myself a little differently. It would work out. But once again, that's my anatomy. Make sure that this is above the knee joint, plain and simple. Okay, this has been adjusted. My range limiting device, I didn't explain this, so let me do that real quickly. When we set position, I always like to say is, because for some folks this may feel like a great, tremendous stretch, too much, so they might have to start a little lower. So always, explore that. Extend the leg upwards. Now, granted, this is working some hip flexion here, but you also extend the knee and see how much actual range you have here relative to whether there's tightness or not on the actual hamstrings themselves. I wouldn't recommend lifting both legs just because that's very stressful for a lot of people's lower backs. So just check yourself from one side to the other, see what that feels like, and based on that, just eyeball it. And you make your adjustment and bring that up. So that's about what range I have. I don't feel a large stretch here. For some folks, this feels like they're pulling the bone apart, or pulling the muscle off the bone, that is. So once again, based on your anatomy, okay? Now there's handles here. A lot of times folks will just grab them. There's nothing going to happen here if you just grab this. When you draw those legs down, the lower back may arch. You might even slide out of the seat. So what I want you to do is you can actually press, right? Press yourself as you're trying to wedge your lower back into this machine, making sure that you're not sliding or creating extension through that lower back. The other thing as well is sometimes when folks sit down, the natural tendency is the hip just rotates out. You'll see my feet are veering out right now. So what I want to do here is I want to rotate my hip in just a little bit on both sides so that my knee joint flexes in line with the direction of this mechanism and the force being distributed through the actual joints themselves. My weights have been adjusted, 5-pound increments on the top knob, 20-pound increments on the bottom pin there. I've pressed myself in position. I'm going to flex that knee, and I want you to think down and back when doing this one. Focus on driving the heel back, almost if you want to kick yourself in the butt, and then controlling and absorbing it on the way up, okay? So once again, down and back, squeezing heel to the butt. Nice focus squeeze on the muscles above the knee. You'll feel those hamstrings working. If you wanted to do this with a single leg, look, keep one leg on there, flex the knee, work on that one leg at a time, all right? Nice and slow. Sometimes you'll use this because you may have a weaker leg, okay? I always like to say, starting with this exercise in the beginning, if you need to feel the muscle a little more, you can do a little bit of a pulse. Just like I did on the leg extension, I can work that end range of motion see what that feels like. By doing this a few times, you might start feeling the muscles a little more, working in their more shortened state, and then you can start elongating, going into more of that stretch, and then back into that contraction, okay? So this is the Cybex leg curl machine with our set positions, that is. Once again, start with a light weight just to get a feeling for the machine. Make sure that the joint is in alignment. Make sure that this sets above the knee, and also bringing this to the upper position where it's closer to the knee joint itself to reduce the amount of stress on the joint. Okay, hope this helps. If you have any questions, once again, please get in touch with me and I'll help you out. Have a great day now.